Scuderia Ferrari starts the Monaco Grand Prix weekend with one certainty: trying to win. The goal is undoubtedly a challenging one. However, rather than hopes, the Italian side relies on some certainties provided by the technical department led by Italian aerodynamicist Enrico Cardile, the technical director of chassis and aerodynamics at Ferrari. As we know, the key characteristic around which the Monaco weekend revolves is traction, a distinctive feature in which Red Bull excels and manages to exploit on every track, regardless of the layout. The potential of the updated SF-24 car in this fundamental aspect is good, but as we know, it is not up to the level offered by the Red Bull RB20 single-seater. For this reason, starting from the Imola Grand Prix, Ferrari decided to optimize the corner exit phases on two fronts. On one hand, sacrificing entry to gain benefits in acceleration phases, and on the other, optimizing the performance of the motor generators, MGU-K and MGU-H, by using a clear strategy of power delivery at low revs to make up ground in traction. In this way, in the only real slow corner, number 9, also known as the Tosa corner, the SF-24 car did not look bad compared to the Austrian car, but on the contrary, managed to achieve equal results. On the streets of Monte Carlo, this operation will be implemented again. Additionally, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc will try to benefit from the corner entry phases, thanks to the very solid front end of the SF-24, which allows the Italian car to gain on Red Bull in this specific moment. These two measures, simulated hypothetically, should essentially level things according to Ferrari. For the rest, like the rest of the Formula One cars, the Scuderia will shift the car's balance to the rear, an operation that the Italian car has been able to exploit without suffering on the front end, unlike Red Bull. We are talking about a problem that partly worries the technicians in Milton Keynes even here in Monaco. Failing to put the correct amount of energy into the tire carcass, in fact, removed grip from the RB20 on the Imola circuit, a thermal imbalance on the axles that compromised Red Bull's performance. We just have to wait until tomorrow to understand, first of all, how the F1 cars will react in their first approach with the track surface. The base setup will therefore be carefully evaluated and then optimized through the usual fine-tuning on Saturday. Before the second upgrade package arrives between the British Grand Prix and the Hungarian Grand Prix, Scuderia Ferrari has scheduled the debut of 3 new rear wings that will need to match the new aerodynamic setup introduced at Imola last weekend. In the meantime, we can comment on the setup chosen at the rear by the top teams through the first images collected from the Monaco paddock. The first solution, the maximum downforce wing, was brought to the Principality of Monaco in order to ensure the highest downforce on a track where aerodynamic efficiency matters significantly less compared to vertical thrust. Ferrari therefore arrives in Monte Carlo with an updated wing. We are talking about a revised specification in almost all its components. We can see how the main plane has undergone a complete restyling. The aerodynamics team in Maranello aimed to enlarge its frontal area, with a much more pronounced leading edge compared to the previous version. The second foil, however, appears to be a cross between the two specifications seen so far. The wingtips are still pointed like the version examined at the Fiorano circuit and subsequently used in the 7th round of this thrilling 2024 Formula One World Championship, all considering that they show a different orientation and are no longer aligned with the local direction of the fluid mass. In the rear wing specification that debuted at the home track during the second filming day of the championship, allowed by the International Federation with the updated version of the SF-24, the ends of the flap in question were curved to align with the local direction of the flow. In this case, however, as mentioned, the flap appears straight in every part. Overall, we are talking about an update labeled as track-specific, and for the first weekend of the current championship, Ferrari will not use the classic version seen so far. From an aerodynamic point of view, with this new approach, the center of pressure moves towards the rear of the car, unloading a greater amount of downforce on the rear axle. Part of the load balance is then adjusted as a result of the incidence of the front wing. This modification is significant considering that in the previous 7 events, Ferrari always raced with one version of the rear wing. Now, the team enters a phase where the engineers will try to make the most of the new configurations. The side supports of the mobile flap have been confirmed, allowing for a reduction in drag, following a development path that has already been successfully implemented by other teams. Thanks to some other images taken by the pit lane reports in Monaco on Thursday, examining the graphic comparison, it is clear that Ferrari has decided to bring two different versions on the front end that will be tested in a comparative test from the first free practice session on Friday. In the setup that provides more downforce and therefore a higher level of vertical thrust, always very useful here in Monaco, there is a small gurney flap on the trailing edge. In this case, the measure chosen by the Ferrari technicians aims to increase the front load of the updated version of the SF-24 car by a few points, without negatively affecting the drag of the Italian car too much. It remains to be seen which of the two versions will be chosen following the comparative test that will be carried out tomorrow in Monaco. Ferrari arrives in Monte Carlo after the first official outing of the new SF-24 single-seater at the Imola circuit, seeking further confirmation of the aerodynamic update package. The winding and atypical street circuit of the Principality will not be as telling as the upcoming rounds in Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada and the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona for extracting further potential from the aerodynamic shape change that has renewed the look of the 2024 Formula One car. In the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at the Imola circuit, the full potential of the updated SF-24 was not seen, so for now it cannot be definitively evaluated. Imola is not the optimal track to judge updates, and neither will Monaco be, said the Monegasque driver Charles Leclerc, who arrives in Monaco aiming to break a series of jinxes at his home race. In terms of data, the updates have worked, but it is clear that the installation and setup need to be better understood as the updated car takes to the track. The second aerodynamic package, which will arrive at the Silverstone circuit or at the Hungaroring track in Budapest, will be more targeted at mitigating the weaknesses of the SF-24 car. On the streets of Monaco, 90% of the final result is decided on Saturday in the qualifying session, and for the Maranello technicians it will therefore be very important to have a car that provides the necessary driver confidence right away. The Red Bull RB20 is the best in slow corners but has shown issues with handling bumps. McLaren has greatly improved this aspect after the Miami Grand Prix, but still has a gap to close in terms of low-speed performance. Ferrari is strong in acceleration, but in Monaco it will be important to have a perfect car in qualifying that gives Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc the right confidence for a special race weekend in Monaco. With Ferrari and McLaren claiming some early season wins with Carlos Sainz in Australia and Lando Norris in Miami, there is renewed hope that Red Bull and Max Verstappen's advantage over the opposition is rapidly reducing. Ferrari currently appears to be the third fastest team. However, it showed encouraging pace at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix last time out. Charles Leclerc, who crossed the line in third place at the Imola circuit, was only 7 seconds down on race winner Max Verstappen. As the Maranello team looks to take its first victory on the streets of Monaco since 2017, when Sebastian Vettel finished ahead of Kimi Räikkönen to secure a memorable 1-2 finish for Ferrari, the Italian side knows that car setup will be a crucial factor around the difficult-to-overtake track.